It wasn't an argument that led me to the discovery. It was a misplaced coffee cup. Saturday morning, I was tidying up our car after a week of errands and chaos. The usual clutter, fast food wrappers, receipts, and half-empty water bottles was scattered across the seats. But as I reached under the driver's seat to grab a coffee cup I'd accidentally kicked, my fingers brushed against something unexpected. A phone. Not his usual phone, either. This one was cheap, unassuming, and hidden just far enough back that it wasn't immediately noticeable. My heart skipped a beat as I pulled it out, staring at the device like it was a grenade. For a moment, I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was old and forgotten. Maybe it wasn't even his. But as I turned it on, the lock screen lit up, and there it was, his face. The same photo he used for everything, staring back at me. My stomach dropped. Later that evening, when he came home, I tried to act normal, but the phone felt like it was burning a hole in my purse where I'd hidden it. "Hey," I said, watching him closely as he dropped his keys on the counter. "How was work?" "Same as always," he replied, smiling. "Anything interesting happen?" I pressed. He shrugged, oblivious to the weight behind my question. "Not really." "Why?" I forced a smile. "No reason." But as I watched him, a dozen questions raced through my mind. Why did he need a second phone? What was he hiding? And how long had I been the fool? When he fell asleep that night, I couldn't wait any longer. The second phone sat on the nightstand, still locked, taunting me with its secrets. My hands trembled as I grabbed it and quietly slipped into the bathroom. The lock screen required a 4-digit code, but I knew him well enough to try a few guesses. His birthday didn't work. Neither did mine. Then I tried the last 4 digits of his old college ID, something he'd always joked about using for everything. The phone unlocked. The first thing I noticed was how bare it looked. No apps, no social media, no photos, nothing that made it seem like a personal device. But when I opened the messaging app, the truth hit me like a punch to the gut. A string of messages filled the screen, all from a single contact saved as S. "Can't wait to see you tonight. Usual spot? He's working late again, right? Perfect timing, face blowing kiss dot. Last night was amazing. I can't stop thinking about you." My vision blurred as I scrolled further. The messages were intimate, unmistakably romantic, and worse, they were recent. The timestamps lined up perfectly with nights he told me he was working late or out with friends. I couldn't stop myself. I dug deeper, opening older messages, and with every word, the reality of his betrayal became clearer. One message stuck with me. "Can you bring the money next time? I hate waiting." Money? What money? My mind raced with questions. Was this just an affair, or was he involved in something worse? I barely slept that night, lying awake next to him as he snored softly, completely unaware that his carefully constructed web of lies was unraveling. The next morning, he kissed me on the cheek before heading out, just like he always did. But this time, I wasn't letting it go. Using the GPS app on the second phone, I tracked his movements. Sure enough, instead of heading to the office, he drove to a coffee shop downtown. My pulse quickened as I pulled up outside and saw him through the window, sitting at a corner table with a woman I didn't recognize. She leaned in close, her hand brushing his as they laughed over their drinks. My chest tightened. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was my worst fear staring me in the face. I sat in my car across the street, watching as he leaned closer to the woman, his hand grazing hers. They looked too comfortable, too familiar. The sight of him laughing so easily, while my entire world unraveled, filled me with rage. I wasn't going to let this slide. Not this time. I grabbed the second phone from my bag, turned it on, and snapped a photo of them through the car window. Then I marched across the street, my heart pounding with a mix of anger and adrenaline. He didn't notice me at first. His back was turned, and the woman, blonde, mid-30s, with a designer handbag slung over her chair, was mid-sentence. "Hi, darling," I said loudly, my voice dripping with venom as I approached their table. His head whipped around, and the color drained from his face. "Jenna." The woman looked confused, her eyes darting between us. "Who's this?" she asked, her tone cautious. "Oh, I'm just his girlfriend," I said, holding up the second phone for them both to see. "Or should I say, his unsuspecting fool?" He stood up quickly, his chair scraping against the floor. "Jenna, let me explain," I snapped, cutting him off. "You mean explain why you've been sneaking around with her for months? Why you needed a second phone to keep your lies straight?" The woman's face hardened as she looked at him. "You told me you were divorced," she said, her voice rising. "Divorced?" I said, laughing bitterly. "Oh, that's rich. He told me you were just a coworker." He ran a hand through his hair, his mouth opening and closing as he struggled to form a coherent response. "It's not what it looks like," he finally stammered. "Oh, spare me," I said, tossing the phone onto the table. "The texts, the locations, the lies, it's exactly what it looks like." The entire cafe had gone silent, all eyes on us as the tension crackled like a live wire. The woman stood abruptly, grabbing her bag. "I can't believe this," she said, glaring at him. "You're disgusting." She stormed out, leaving him standing there, looking like a deer in headlights. "Are you happy now?" he asked, his voice low. "Happy?" I repeated, my voice shaking. "You lied to me, cheated on me, and made me feel like I was losing my mind every time I questioned you. Do I look happy to you?" He tried to reach for me, but I stepped back. "We're done," I said firmly. "You can keep your lies and your second phone. I hope they keep you warm at night." I walked out of the cafe, my heart pounding as I left him behind. The cool air hit my face, and for the first time in months, I felt free. In the days that followed, I blocked his number and cut all ties. Friends told me I was strong, that I'd done the right thing, but it didn't feel like strength at first. It felt like mourning, the loss of the life I thought I had, the person I thought he was. But over time, I realized I'd gained something far more valuable: clarity. I trusted my instincts, found the truth, and reclaimed my sense of self. And that was worth more than anything he'd ever given me.